Live from our studio at the Sawe Kanda here in Accra and Tamale. We're live on Kesmi 107.1 FM. If you can hear us in White on W922.5 FM. Coming up this afternoon, Chair and General Secretary of the Opposition NDC in crunch meeting with the Electoral Commission to firm up processes for tomorrow's presidential and parliamentary primaries after Dr. Kwabena Dufo withdrew injunction application against the elections.
We are aware the matter has been discontinued. Lawyers for Dr. Dufo announced to the court that we had instructions to discontinue the matter, and so as we speak, the matter has been discontinued.
We're live to the Electoral Commission for details as the race to meet all arrangements now kicks in. Also this afternoon, Redeemia Savior Academy School, attended by a majority of pupils who drowned on Wednesday at Botiano Fana, closed. The minority, meanwhile, has been reacting to the development as pressure continues to mount on the government to provide life jackets to students and pupils living across waterways. And much later, Cocoa Board to intensify engagement with multinational chocolate companies to improve living conditions of farmers following latest Oxfam survey, which revealed farmer incomes has been on the decline since 2020. Details of these stories and a lot more if you stay with us for the next 30 minutes. A pleasure that you could be a part of this afternoon's bulletin. It's streaming live on Facebook. Our handles 3FM927 as well as on Twitter. Same handles 3FM927. I am Eric Mawuena Egbeta. Let's get into the details now because the Chair and General Secretary of the Opposition National Democratic Congress are at the Electoral Commission this afternoon to firm up processes for tomorrow's presidential and parliamentary primaries. It follows a decision by flag bearer Spar and Dr. Kwabena Dufo to withdraw a suit seeking to injunct the primaries over the lack of a credible voters register. The primaries has been in limbo all week as the injunction prompted the EC's decision to recuse itself from the entire process. But in court today, lawyers for Dr. Dufo told the judge they'd been advised by their client to withdraw the case. Speaking to journalists after the court hearing, General Secretary of the NDC Fifi Kweti said the election will proceed as planned.
All right. We are happy that the plaintiff have decided to discontinue the case. That opens the door for us to be able to proceed with the elections tomorrow. So we want to use the opportunity to send a message to all the rank and file across all the country, all our delegates, all our aspirants, that we are ready to go right ahead with the elections tomorrow. So we're going to immediately get in touch with the Electoral Commission and arrange that all the logistics are able to reach to the places that they ought to reach. Thank you all of you for the cooperation.
You represent the party. There were some issues that the Dufo Camp raised, and more reason they came to court. Subsequently, it's been withdrawn. Have you satisfied the requests that they made to which they came to court?
Yeah, it's been satisfied. The delegate list is the main primary document that we are depending on, and this delegate list has been ready, made available to all the contestants. So really, as far as we are concerned, there really was no case to begin with. But we are happy they didn't decided to withdraw it.
The Electoral Commission stated that it would be difficult for them to be able to have this done.
I explained that we will make sure every assistance is provided for the materials to reach in good time.
Do you have any other thing with respect to the fact that there may also be delays as a result of what has transpired within the next few days?
All the materials are there on time.
When would elections be starting tomorrow?
Same time. Same
as in what?
From 7 o'clock. 7 to 4. That's the same time. Nothing has changed. Everything is on course. All right. Thank you very much.
That's the General Secretary of the NDC, Fifi Kweti, and like we've been telling you, he, along with the Chair of the NDC, Johnson Asidun Ketia, are currently at the premises of the Electoral Commission to firm up processes for tomorrow's election. Stanley Nibleu is there for us. He's joined us on phone. Stanley, what have you gathered since the 2 arrived at the EC's premises today?
So, Mawuena, I can report the staff of the commission have been very busy because they've had to be engaging some national executives of the opposition NDC regarding tomorrow's presidential and parliamentary primaries. Earlier in the day, just as you mentioned, the chairman, Mr. Johnson Asedun Ketia, and the general secretary, Mr. Fifi Kwete, walked into the premises of the Electoral Commission for Asedun Ketia came out and left the premises, but
Stanley, the line is a bit bad to you. If you could kindly reposition for us so that we can hear exactly what it is that you're saying.
Is it better?
Right. You were explaining that the chair and the EC officials were busy meeting and putting things in place.
Yes. So I was saying that the chair and then the general secretary walked in the morning to participate in the engagement with the Electoral Commission, but it didn't take long when Asedun Ketia walked out from the meeting and then left the premises. So currently he is not here, but I can confirm that the general secretary, that is Fifi Kwete, is currently engaging the technical, a core technical team of the Electoral Commission regarding tomorrow's primaries. So currently that is ongoing. But one thing that I have also picked up from this engagement has to do with the fact that while I'm waiting for the Electoral Commission to tell me what transpired in the meeting, the NDC has already served notice that for them, they are not going to speak to any media present at the Electoral Commission. What they would rather do is that right from the Electoral Commission at 1 p.m., they are going back to their head office to organize a press conference to engage the media and then tell the whole republic what actually transpired and what the Electoral Commission's position has been so far as tomorrow's primaries is concerned.
So the NDC is not speaking at the EC's premises. The EC would speak later, but based off on this interaction and what you say is a continuous work between the General Secretary and the technical committee of the Electoral Commission, does it look like the EC would supervise the elections tomorrow, bearing in mind that they had mentioned that the time frame was too short? Does it look like they are working towards the elections tomorrow?
Yes, so Mawuena, if everything goes according to schedule, then what it will mean is that the election will take place. But one thing, this election is going to be held in the constituencies and it will be supervised by the EC branches in the constituencies. But one thing that I think also came up in the discussion or the engagement has to do with the transportation or conveyance of some electoral materials to the various constituencies. And that's the way forward. That is what they are currently planning to do. Once they are able to arrive at a solution, then it means everything will be set for the election to take place tomorrow.
Right, Stan, that's Stanley Niblo. He's my colleague at the Electoral Commission, and also adding that there's an expected news conference by the opposition NDC this afternoon at 1 p.m. where they will, amongst other things, outline details of the interaction with the Electoral Commission and the way forward. But like you heard Stanley mention, that looking at all indications, it appears that if things go according to plan, the elections would come off. The challenge now is how items can be airlifted to the various constituencies for the elections to take place. We'll return to the court because the Director of Legal Affairs has been affirming the position that the elections will proceed as planned. Here is Ibrahim Malaba.
We are aware the matter has been discontinued. Lawyers for Dr. Dufo announced to the court that we had instructions to discontinue the matter, and so as we speak, the matter has been discontinued. I would like to use this opportunity to thank the Council of Elders of the party, the chairman of the party, the General Secretary, for the efforts they've put in place in resolving this matter.
I also want to thank Dr. Dufo, the presidential candidate, for his magnanimity and to accept to withdraw this matter from court. What this shows is that the NDC is united. Yes. The NDC is forging ahead in the 2024 elections as a united party. Now, as to whether the elections will take place or not, the party has already issued a press statement signed by the General Secretary that the elections are coming up tomorrow. And I can announce to the whole of the NDC fraternity that these elections will take place tomorrow, Saturday.
That's the Director of Legal Affairs of the NDC, Abraham Malba. Well, there's been quite a number of reactions to the decision from the court. Jonathan Asante-Ocho is a political analyst and a lecturer at the University of Cape Coast. He's joined us on phone and we'll pick his thoughts shortly. Professor Ransford Jampo, who is a professor of political science at the University of Ghana, took to Facebook to write that EC. So you see, that's why I said your decision to pull out shouldn't have been taken and communicated to the NDC the way you did in the media. Deepen the perception that you didn't like them. Work on your relational competence. And then Professor Kweku Azar comes in to say it was not a relational problem, it was a premature pull-out. And Professor Jonathan Asante-Ocho now has joined us on the telephone line. He's a political analyst and a lecturer at the University of Cape Coast. Many thanks, Mr. Asante-Ocho, for speaking to us. So finally, the case has been withdrawn. The polls expected to go ahead on Saturday. Lessons from all of that which has happened, because you had stated that Dr. Dufo was being misled.
Good afternoon. I didn't hear the last part of your question. I said that Dr. Dufo...
You had stated in previous interactions with us that he was allowing himself to be misled by some of the individuals close to him.
Yeah. Well, I think that... let me say good afternoon once again to our listeners. I think cool heads have prevailed over this. As I said earlier on, this not ought to have been taken to that level. Of course, it has created some kind of discomfiture for the party, as it were. The general masses following the party, as it were. Those stakeholders, aspirants, MPs, don't want to still be maintained. Others who are going out and so on and so forth. So you could see some kind of unsettlement as far as this particular, suit was concerned. But when communication began and he himself was engaged, some of us, got the impression that there would be a solution to the problem of the day. Some of us should have. I was thinking that it could have been resolved as of yesterday, but when they were able to get the suit, to be listened to, as it were, for today, some of us felt that definitely cool heads will prevail and sleeping dogs will be allowed to sleep wherever they are. And lo and behold, the noble Dr. Dufo has thought it wise to withdraw. And so the courts, in their own wisdom, have equally withdrawn the suit. Or they've struck it out,
Mr. Asante-Ocho, I will just ask you to hold the line for us, because we're picking indication that there is another injunction which has been secured by one Eja Samoa Boateng at an Accra High Court in Adenta, seeking an order to injunct the NDC's presidential and parliamentary primaries for Saturday elections. In a statement of claim, Samoa Boateng, who's a plaintiff and a card-bearing member of the NDC in Ibuakwa North, says he's surprised the first and second defendant have failed to provide the voters register to its representatives. This voters register issue continues to come up every now and then, and the respondent in this new suit, which we're just citing right now, is the NDC as well as the general secretary and then the national chairman of the party.
Well, I think this particular personality is looking for some kind of fame, but definitely will lose some kind of money, because when a suit like this that is malicious and frivolous, I don't think that the court will entertain that. In the interest of the masses and those following the party, the peace and security of the nation, so on and so forth, the NDC primaries ought to take place. What is the locus of that person? Being a member of the NDC, a card-bearing member, does not warrant the fact that is he a contestant? Is he contesting a parliamentary seat or that of a presidential? Things of that nature ought not to be entertained. I think that this is much ado about nothing, and the president is just looking for a fame. And I don't think that, the court will entertain things as frivolous as this.
Expectations for tomorrow, really, because now it appears that the processes will go on barring any hitches with this latest injunction that we're seeing. Expectations for tomorrow, and whether or not all of this comes together, who you're tipping?
Well, I think that as part of your introductory speech, you spoke about the EC. I don't know where the EC finds itself now. I think that whoever pushed Madame Jean Mensah to do what she did, I think has created some kind of image problem for the EC, as it were. And it is still deepening the perception, as Professor Jampo has said, that there is that, antagonism between the NDC and the EC, which in her speech, she made allusion to the NDC's absence at IPAC. So I felt that she was even going to talk about IPAC, and then she comes out with a twist that because of social and so they will not be able to supervise. I want to hear from their end, because the party will need the supervision of the EC. Unless the EC now realizes that maybe they don't need to come out with any kind of communication, they're going to go ahead as instructed. I listened to Dr. Srebo to the fact that he was making reference to 2014 or so, yes, about a case that, had been sent a similar interlocutory injunction, and they were making preparation. He made reference to the fact that the Supreme Court warned them that they ought not to do that until the case is heard. So now that the case has been heard, they have from the whole of today to tomorrow to do the preparation. I think and I believe they will be able to ensure the supervision is done so that all parties, whoever loses or whoever wins, it will be fair, because other than that, it could create some kind of security problem for all of us in this country, and that will not go well for us. But by and large, if they come on board, I think that I can foresee a smooth primaries that will be had, because the photo album is an augmentation to the delegate list, which of course will not only ensure that there is that authentication and verification, but will equally ensure that the voting is done at a faster pace than it usually is.
Right then. Mr. Asante-Ochoe, I appreciate that you could speak to us this afternoon.
Thank you, Mawuena.
That's Jonathan Asante-Ochoe, a political analyst with the University of Cape Coast, a lecturer there as well, speaking to us. We're staying on the NDC just a while longer, because really it's looking like tomorrow is the day where the year-long party reorganization will finally come to an end with the election of parliamentary candidate and a presidential flag bearer as well. And Evans Inkum, he's in the Ashanti region for us, where some 61,000 delegates are readying themselves for the elections there. He will join us on phone with some details, and we'll take you to the stronghold of the NDC, the Volta region, where 18 parliamentary seats are up for grabs. One that is of keen interest is the Kokwe constituency, where John Peter Hamel won the seat for the NPP in the 2020 polls. The remaining 17 seats are occupied by the NDC MPs, and keenly contested constituencies, Who West, Who Central, South Dai, North Dai, and the likes, Ketu South, amongst many other places which are of keen interest to political watchers as well. We'll work the telephone lines and bring those perspectives to you in the course of the bulletin. But away from the politics now, and the 15-year-old Class 5 pupil of Redeemer Savior Academy, who was in charge of the canoe that capsized on Wednesday, killing 9 children, has told 3FM that was not the first time he was ferrying kids to and from school. According to Achu, it has always been his responsibility to transport his siblings and other kids to and from school daily. He tells Armstrong Goldalog where the unfortunate incident was an accident. Meanwhile, the school has been closed and is yet to resume following Wednesday's disaster. Here is Achu speaking to Armstrong.
Egbona.
Magwana no vinya koga magwana. Miju na pomo. Yema lo katara pomo. Okuvoju ina. Egbaje ka ngara vona. Jigwini. Iko voju ito. Ino vinya agbara wunya. Yo makoi. Okudara vomo. Yema echega de vodura. Yeba ge yete moto eche de vodura. Yema ga gbona. Maga trolli ala heavy bonyala. Ga kudara vomo. Renye bange. Kaka mawe yuko voga cho. Voga ya shiga ba twile tom. Ga kwe. Eche ha pia shine okoju.
Obe mi le fe le moji na to pe ya.
Ah mi fa ka fo moji.
O kona over ma peme da gbese gbe.
Nyi ko kona ko ina ga kona ogbi.
Amechicha de me le mi odo me.
Amechicha ka mi odo me.
So that's the young Achu speaking there. We can listen to him again.
Okay. All right. So all Achu has been saying basically is that he is responsible for bringing his younger ones back home from school, and that there's no elderly person among them, and he does this every day. And what happened on Wednesday evening was just an unfortunate incident that happened because there was a strong tide, and also the Weja Dam has been opened, leading to the entire place getting flooded, and this meeting with the sea became very impossible for him to control the strong waves from the sea, and then also the Weja Dam, and that's what led to what happened. Achu, for some time now, has not been himself. He has been crying since we got here.
That's Armstrong Gold, my colleague there, who's been following up on the story. Meanwhile, education think tank, the Africa Education Watch, says the tragic deaths could have been avoided had the Ghana Education Service acted on its recommendation to provide life jackets to school children in island communities. Kofi Asare is the executive director, has been speaking to 3FM.
It's very unfortunate that the GNS did not heed our advice to provide life jackets to all island communities, to all schools in island communities, in order to save the lives of its own employees and then the students. If life jackets were supplied to all the island communities, yesterday we wouldn't have heard, the same story we are hearing. So we work in a lot of communities, some of them island, in the northern region, in the Volta region. We are not aware of any life jackets that have been shared. And even the life jacket was a temporary measure. We indicated the need for plans to provide schools in island communities.
Kofi Asare is the executive director of the Africa Education Watch. The Ghana National Teachers Association as well, NAT, they've served notice of a nationwide protest to get government to provide life jackets for school children in island communities.
In fact, what has happened this time around, we might say never again should this thing happen to the children of this country. The children of this country deserve better. They deserve better. Together with their teachers, they deserve better. If because the children cannot hold press conferences, if it is because the children cannot even go on demonstration and all those things, people will have to organize the children for them, the children to start talking to the powers that be. Now look, we are tired. Look, how much will it cost us to provide them with life jackets? How much? No, tell me how much. Are we saying that we cannot provide them, these children with life jackets? Granted that we cannot even, in the interim, can't we provide them with life jackets?
Thomas Musatanko is General Secretary of the Ghana National Association of Teachers, and we're staying on this subject because the minority in Parliament have been wading into the development, and they want government to commit more resources to building classrooms and education infrastructure in underserved communities. And it's coming in the wake of the death of the 9. In a statement, ranking member on the Education Committee, Peter Nochukutoy, indicated that when Parliament finally reconvenes, the side of the House would not only make a statement on the devastating happenings, but also impress upon government and relevant stakeholder institutions to take drastic steps to avert such disasters. Away from this now, and Cocoa Board says it is intensifying engagement with multinational chocolate companies to improve the living incomes of Ghanaian cocoa farmers after a survey revealed farmer incomes is fast declining. A survey by Oxfam International has revealed the Ghanaian cocoa farmers' living income has declined by 16% since 2020. The situation of women is worse, with their incomes dropping by 22%. Here is a news desk report. A report which sampled over 400 cocoa farmers across Ghana identified persistent challenges with living incomes for cocoa farmers, while multinational chocolate corporations enjoy the profits in the global market. The plight of cocoa farmers worsened in the last 3 years because of the COVID-19 pandemic with its attendant effects. According to the survey, net incomes have fallen on average by 16% since 2020, with women's incomes fallen by nearly 22%. Many of the farmers, according to the report, could not afford enough food and other basic amenities, while up to 90% of Ghanaian cocoa farmers did not earn a living income. The report further revealed that many of the 800,000 farmers in the country survive on just $2 a day. For Ghana Cocoa Board, the living income differential is a step to address the challenges identified in the report. Cocoa Board, however, is of the view that tackling head-on the current market disparity could worsen the already bad situation for farmers.
If you are keeping cocoa in a warehouse, the warehousing cost is one. It will not consume it eventually. It will still have to sell. Sure. So that possibility is one so far. We are yet to do the cost-benefit analysis to say that it is the way to go. Our engagement with the chocolate manufacturers has gone on for some number of years. We've seen price at the terminal market improving, and that is an indication that there's something better in sight. And our expectation is that it will not just be a one-off period thing, but then it will be sustainable within a period where farmers can have a better income for what they produce.
Cocoa Board, meanwhile, says it has withheld free spraying of cocoa farms at Elubu in the western region as a warning over the smuggling of cocoa beans to Ivory Coast.
If the cocoa, after all the cost involved, is smuggled outside the country, how would Cocoa Board be able to raise the money to pay for the services? It's unfortunate that the farmers will have to suffer this fate at this time, but it is to send a certain signal.
Cocoa farmers at Elubu in the Jomoro district of the western region have been up in arms over the suspension of mass spraying in the area since April of this year. That was a news desk report. You're listening to the news here on 3FM 92.7. Let's return to the NDC and its elections. I mentioned that we'll touch base in the Ashanti region where my colleague William Evans Inkum has been monitoring proceedings there for us. He's joined us on phone. Evans, tell us, with the date of the primaries, how prepared is the NDC in the Ashanti region? They don't have such a large constituency there.
Well, absolutely. So we're looking forward to over 61,000 delegates converging in various constituencies, which has a single polling center to cast their vote. Of course, we are looking at the four strongholds of the NDC. I can tell you that the most boiling are the two traditional strongholds. Two traditional in the sense that they've never swept to the camp of the MPP. So here we are talking about Asawase constituency since 2004. And of course, Afram Plains constituency. Now, the Asawase constituency, I mean, this is not new to you, Mawuena. We're talking about Mubarak, who is also, contesting Muntaka to snatch the seat for the very first time. Then in the Dobonso or the Afram Plains constituency, we are talking about presidential aspirant Dr. Kwabena Dufo, whose son, Junior Dufo, is also contesting, his brother, Dr. Adomako, who is the incumbent at the moment. If you go to Niwe Dubiase constituency, which in 2016, crossed to the camp of the MPP, when the former deputy minister for Agric was occupying that particular seat. I'm talking about Odlo. Now the NDC has that particular seat back. That was in 2020. And the former member of parliament, Kupiaka, is coming back to take the seat. He lost the primaries in the lead up to the 2020 elections. So he's coming back to take the seat from Abdul Salam. And I can tell you that that particular political environment is also boiling. Then we move to the Edra constituency, where we have two people very influential as far as the NDC in that constituency is concerned, also contesting the incumbent member of parliament, Brahma Bawa.
Right then, Evan Sinkum is my colleague in the Ashanti region, providing details really for us as a situation in the Ashanti region as we end this afternoon's edition of the bulletin. Akua Mensah Aborampah, she's on standby to bring us the very latest from the world of business. A lot more news on the NDC and all of the development if you stay with us here on 3FM and on 3news.com. Business is next.
A very good afternoon to you, and thank you for joining us on Business Daily. My name is Akua Mensah Aborampah. Coming up this afternoon, government to raise about 3.3 billion cedis today on the treasury market. Also, Professor Lord Mensah fears interest rates will not come down anytime soon as government continues to borrow from the domestic market. We have all the details in the next 10 minutes. Please stay.
How many?
Thank you for staying with us. Let's get to the details now. As government is planning to raise about 3.3 billion cedis today on the T-bills market. This is far more than the 1.8 billion cedis it raised on the market last Friday. The increase in treasury bills targets, according to sources, is to enable the payment of maturing old bonds. Our checks reveal that government is even considering swapping the old bonds for treasury bills. Government's borrowing on the money market continues to shoot up significantly as it accepted 99.9% of the bids tendered by the investors for last week's auction. The sale of the short-term securities was also oversubscribed by about 40% of the targeted amount of 1.834 billion Ghana cedis. But once again, the cost of borrowing has become a concern to many analysts and market watchers, and subsequently we'll be updating you on how much government raised with the plans of raising about 3.3 billion cedis today in coming days. And still talking about money, a deputy governor of the Bank of Ghana, LC Adoawaji, has charged banks to consider reducing the interest rates on loans following the recent fall in the rate of inflation to 41.2%. According to her, current macroeconomic conditions make it imperative for banks to lower their interest rates, which are currently very high. We'll bring you that soundbite later on in our subsequent bulletins. But the interest rates are not likely to also slow down, although the deputy governor of the Bank of Ghana is charging banks to consider reducing their rates because government continues to borrow from the domestic market. Well, that's according to Professor of Economics at the University of Ghana Business School, Lord Mensah. He says despite the reduction in inflation over the last 3 months, interest rates are not likely to slow down. Speaking in an interview with Free Business, Professor Mensah said the current rate of debt accumulation on the domestic market defeats the purpose of the debt exchange program.
Yeah, of course, we have no option for now. And to bring hope and confidence into the economy, government must send a signal out there that they are ready to satisfy, their obligations. And what is going to happen is that interest rates are likely not to come down any moment from now. And that was our hope, that once we go through this debt restructuring, interest rates will come down. But what is happening is that if government continues to show that kind of borrowing from our, environment, then interest rates may not come down because government will always be in need of money, and money will find itself into government instruments. So from where I sit, the objective of a debt restructuring that brings interest rate down, Ghana will not be able to achieve that. But then we need a signal to be sent out there that government is being responsible.
And that was Lord Mensah, an associate professor at the University of Ghana Business School. The Minister of Trade and Industry, K.T. Hammond, has revealed that over 3,100 jobs have been created in 311 firms who benefited from the COVID-19 response grant. The overall aim of this program was to support SMEs with a high potential of implementing productivity and competitiveness, enhancing initiatives to accelerate their growth. And he was speaking during the launch of the Women MSME program and Youth in MSME program by the Ghana Enterprises Agency.
I'm happy to note that some 3,195 jobs have so far been sustained by about 311 firms so created and so supported by the grants provided by the medium for which we are present here today. This is welcoming news. With not only businesses able to make profit and keep their staff, they're also able to expand and add on new staff. Not bad at all. I am told that about 66% of the beneficiaries indicated in a survey that average values of their gross sales increased by approximately 4%. Not bad at all.
And that was the Minister of Trade and Industry, K.T. Hammond there. Executive Director of the African Center for Energy Policy, ASA, Benjamin Boakye, says per the assessment, Ghana flared over $300 million worth of gas between 2019 and 2021. The Ghana Grid Company Limited, GridCo, had indicated the recent power outages is due to a shortage of gas supply from Nigeria's NGAS. Meanwhile, a PIAC report last 2 weeks indicated Ghana is flaring close to $170 million worth of gas annually.
How many times are we going to be hearing the same story over and over again? That we don't have enough gas, we don't have generation, we don't have enough stability either on the ECG's grid or on the GridCo side. I think we have to have a policy, retooling that helps us to address the fundamental causes of these challenges. As we speak, last 2 weeks or so, PIAC published its report, which indicated that we are flaring close to $170 million of gas, annually. Prior to that, we had done an assessment which actually showed that between 2019 and 2021, we had flared over $300 million of gas.
And that was the Executive Director of the Africa Center for Energy Policy, ASA, Benjamin Boakye, ending it for Business Daily on 3FM 92.7. My name is Nana Akua Mensah Aborampah. Remember to log on to 3news.com. We have more business news updates. Later on at 5:40 on Hot Station, we'll bring you some more business news updates. Enjoy your lunch and have a good afternoon. Black Rasta comes up next.